So changing a culture in an organization is very hard, because culture is something that is deeply ingrained in an organization. But what exactly is culture? Edgar Schein, who wrote this book, famous book on culture, describes it as a pattern of joined assumptions and beliefs of how things are done in a company. We're talking implicit standards, values, rituals also, philosophies. For example, what kind of behavior is rewarded and what kind of behavior is punished? In some organizations, taking initiative is rewarded. In other organizations, it's totally not allowed. Marshak, which is another expert, he even describes culture. He even says that culture is to a company what character is to an individual. Can you imagine that? I think I can better leave the stage, because you know how difficult it is to change a character? And yet, it's necessary to change. So what often happens is that change is initiated from the top, with a real nice deck of PowerPoint slides, and then cascaded into the organization. Toing, toing, toing. And top management often took months to prepare the nice deck of PowerPoint slides, and then it gets cascaded in the organization, and then people have one change workshop, often given by their manager, who has little context and absolutely no participation. Oh, I see a lot of heads nodding now. And so based on this one change workshop, people think that employees are motivated to change their behavior. Because that's what we are talking about in cultural change. There is no culture change without behavior change. Remember our definition from Schein is the way we do things out here in the company. So people have to do things differently. With one change workshop? Don't think so. Behavioral change doesn't work when it's imposed. But then what does work? How do people change behavior? Well, there are three things. I just said that it doesn't, change doesn't work when it's imposed, but it's not entirely true. Yeah? Sometimes I will do what I am told. Right? I'm going to give you a very nice example. In Belgium, like I think in many other countries, speed limits are now imposed and we have to drive a little slower. I can tell you that I only started doing that when I had a fine and a fine and a fine and a fine. And I mean, there's speed cameras everywhere. And I have to say, I adopted my behavior. I started driving more slowly. But I'm not sure what's going to happen when there are no more cameras. So it does work, but it's imposed and you have to like be really tough on it. Second way is I do what I choose to do. My sister stopped smoking, and she said it only worked when she herself was really persuaded that she needed to stop smoking. She chose to do something and she changed her behavior. But it's hard. Some people here are changing diets, are no longer either bread and sugar and all these kind of things. It's really hard. It asks a lot of discipline. But the third way is I do what others do. And we human beings, we are copycats. I see someone do something and I respect that person and I go like, maybe I should do that too. A really easy example is fashion. 70s or 60s, the hippies. A decade later, the disco. These might be the same people. And so afterwards came another and another and another. And sometimes we look back at pictures when we were 15 and we go like, oh my God, was that really me? And at that time, we were really persuaded. So we adopt by copying. And so Leandro Herrero, he's a really nice man. Oh, no, let me wait a little bit longer. He's a Spanish psychiatrist, psychiatrist and later consultant. And he thought, if it's so much easier, if people change their behavior so much more easily by copying each other, why not use that in organizational change? And he wrote a book about it, and this is book on viral change. So it is viral change methodology. And I got to know it a couple of years ago, and I liked it a lot, and I've applied it at some of my clients, amongst others now Akzo Nobel. And so I'm going to talk to you about what is viral change using Akzo Nobel's case. So I don't know if everyone of you knows Akzo Nobel, but it's a global company in paint and specialty chemicals. I think they are also here in Pakistan. And they joined ICI. Huh? Oh, yeah. In Belgium, they have a plant, so they produce paint and also sell it. And so in Belgium, they have been making huge profits. But the last couple of years, profits are declining. And so the company is under pressure. So management says something needs to change. And so they want a more entrepreneurial culture. I mean, less complacency, more entrepreneurial. And so they contacted me for a change proposal, and I proposed viral change. So what is viral change? Well, it's not this, because I don't believe in this. This is the classical approach, top-down, and it's a large-scale initiative. Bam, 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 through the entire company. Rip. So what is the first principle for viral change? It's a bottom-up approach. You start with the belly of the organization and then move up. And you don't start with a large-scale initiative, you start with small micro-actions. That is, people starting to do a little change in the behavior, but a small change, not like big. When culture change is no such thing as a push on a button and poof, it exists. No. You start with small, small actions. That's the first principle. Second one is use peer-to-peer influence. We were just talking about people being copycats. So let's use the element of copycats. Look at this Edelman Trust Barometer. This says, trusted sources are experts and peers. So they get in the top two. Let's see, yeah, experts and peers. Top. And then you see CEO is the one but last. Good luck, CEOs in the room. So we are going to use peers in our change initiative. But not just, you can't work with the entire organization all at once. So you have to make a choice in people. But we're not going to make just any choice. Leandro said, instead of studying communication strategies, study epidemiology. Viruses spread through contact. The more contact, the better. Not for getting ill, but in this case, if you want our message of change to spread, we need people who have many contacts, because then our message will spread more easily. So in fact, we are looking for people with a high infection potential. Nice term, infection potential, this time in a good sense. And so how did we do that? We asked the entire organization, which is 200 persons, because we're not working the plant yet. So the sales and marketing organization is 200 people. So we asked all of them the question, who are the 5 persons whose opinion you value most? And they were sending the names to Congaz. And we used network analysis software to visualize the results. And the result looks like this. Of course, this is you see the dots, but in between the dots, can you see the lines? So some of the dots have many lines, and some have almost no line. And some of the dots are bigger, and some of the dots are smaller. I'm not going to give you the entire explanation about this, but we used this graph to handpick the people with the most contacts. Because the bigger the ball and the more lines, these were people that we refer to as being very influential in a company. So we picked 20 people throughout the entire organization, and we started the change initiative with these 20 people. principle is backstage leadership. So leadership takes the initiative, so because they started the initiative, they said they want entrepreneurial culture, but then from then on, they're out. They're not entirely out, they're supposed to support. Not just be passive and do nothing, but really support. Which I can already tell you, that was really hard. So what did we do then? So with these 20 people, we called them ambassadors. So they knew that we were supposed to realize entrepreneurial culture. But entrepreneurial culture, what is that? So instead of the management dictating what entrepreneurial culture was, we did that with the 20 ambassadors. We used creative problem-solving techniques to make them think, entrepreneurial behavior, what is that? And we came up with 7 themes. I have one here. I'm going to read an example to you. One of the themes was, we dare to take initiatives. And so they also described what is we dare to take initiatives. It says, we show confidence, have guts, no fear. We dare to suggest an idea more than once, even if it meets resistance. We dare to say no if something is really not possible. But if we say yes, we stick to our promise. That's their language. It's so much more different when it's their language than when it is imposed from above. Because I can tell you, at the beginning when I was working with them, so we split up the group in 3 groups in order to have a more intimate setting. And so at the beginning there was a lot of, yes, but the management this, and yes, but the management that. And of course some of it was true. So okay, so what we'll do, we'll list all the structural things that are wrong in the company, and we'll talk to the management. But guys, there is also a lot of things that you are responsible for, or that you can interact with. And so very often I use their words. I say, you said you're going to take initiative, then it's up to you. And that was very strong. 4th principle is micro actions instead of a large-scale initiative. I said that earlier. So we meet one of the main concerns of the people before joining the initiative was, will it be a lot of work? Because they're in work until here. And there's another change initiative. And as I told them, no. We meet every fortnight, 2 hours. And then after that, you'll have 1 or 2 micro actions, and that's all. And so they really didn't believe me, but that was the fact. And so we met in the group, and then they were supposed to pick one of the teams, or 1 or 2 of the themes, and I would ask them, okay, suppose you choose the theme, we dare to take initiative. What are you going to do in the next 14 days to do with this team? What kind of action are you going to take? And so they pick their action. We meet 14 days later, and people tell them, how did it go? And then what is really strong, so I tell, mine didn't work at all. Mine went, but you know what you can do? And people were giving suggestions to each other. And the group became really strong. An element which I hadn't thought of, but it was also, of course, inherent because it was a mixed group, was the breaching of the silos in the organization. You have sales, you have marketing, you have R&D, and very often they don't talk with each other. In my sessions, they're all together. And so they were, they have this problem in sales. So there was a lot of understanding for each other. But the most important element was the raising of the awareness. Because at the beginning, this is a very vague theme, entrepreneurial culture, what does it mean? And then slowly people really understand what it was. And so it's they who told me that for them in the beginning, the most important thing was raising awareness. Because that's the first step in action. Before you change your behavior, you have to realize what it is that you need to change. And so the micro actions that they were going to take are first individually, and later we will ask them to sow. I mean, for example, there was this one guy who said, I really want to give candid feedback. he was not of the very assertive type, and he said, I want to give candid feedback. He comes back 2 weeks later, he says, Ingrid, it really worked. And I told him afterwards, it's okay, Martin, this really works. Now you are going to teach that to your fellow colleagues. You know how different that is, that when he doesn't learn that in a HR course, but instead of from a colleague? It's so different. There is no such thing as a free lunch. So what we do is we measure progress. So at the beginning of the project, we asked people a start, opinion, and a wish. Where they want to be at this, where they are at the start, and where they wish to be. And then we measured in September, October, November, and you can see there is a slow, I have to admit, increase. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7 have gone up, and we have fun even declined. So this might not seem much, but let me show you the graph without the intermediate stages. Sometimes you have to do a little marketing. You see the start, the measurement from last week, and then the wish. And so the goal of the entire exercise was entrepreneurial culture. I think We Dare and Take Initiative is one that is closely related to that theme, and you see it has gone up considerably. Top management really happy. I can tell you it is very hard for me to calm their impatience. So when from time to time I can show them a graph, like, look guys, I know it's going slowly, you might not notice a lot, but, and so this graph is done by the ambassadors, but also by a large control group. Because you will say, aha, if the ambassadors have to measure themselves, of course they will give good grades. No, these are the measurements of the control group. Last principle is use storytelling. So if things have gone well, spread that through the entire organization and use the employees themselves, because that is what is most strong. And so last week I asked what the viral change group says, we have to do something with storytelling. And a couple of people sent me what viral change means to them. I'm going to read that for you, because I'm actually really proud about it. The Vital Change project made me realize that assertive, entrepreneurial, constructive, and positive behavior can indeed help to make this large company that changed so much the last couple of years a more pleasant place to work. I see little things changing in the way we interact with each other. We are clearly encouraged by our management and by our Vital Change friends. Please let us continue even with ups and downs. And another one, thanks to Vital Change, I have become really conscious that by changing our personal behavior, we can impact the way we interact with each other. I've become persuaded that it pays off to address problems you face and to fight and to find a solution instead of remaining passive. Oh, I was so happy. So, and if these people start spreading the message, that's how you infect them in order for other people to change their behavior too. So, is this a good methodology? I think it is, but it also has disadvantages. So, as a last point, I'd like for you to list. I'll list what I find the advantages and the disadvantages. Advantage for me is the fact that the people are chosen by each other. That gives them a very strong mandate. There is one person in the group, and she's from customer service. And she's a very extrovert personality, but it is a very hierarchical organization. And she says, oh, now I really feel that I'm allowed to do something. At one point, we had a lunch with the CEO. We had all the Viral Change ambassadors, and we invited the CEO for lunch. And so the ambassadors were changing how they were doing things. And so this lady, Gina, was saying that, now I feel like I have a mandate. And the CEO was like, huh? Gina, did you, and before you felt you didn't have a mandate? She'd go like, no. you could really see there was such a difference in perception between the CEO and people from the lowest level in the organization. So, secondly, because they define the behaviors, they are more inclined to act, because it's their language and it's that where they have come up with. So they couldn't hide behind top management. I would very often confront them. Guys, these are your words. And of course, the viral effect on their colleagues, because that also works slowly, because then we get to the disadvantage. It is a slow process. But changing culture is a slow process. You remember that I made the comparison with character? It's a big debate. Can people change their character? What I usually say, because I'm in human resources, so I thoroughly believe that, my husband disagrees. If this is a person, wait, you can stretch like this, but not more. But you can stretch. I really believe you can stretch. And that's also why I really believe you can change a culture in an organization. But you can't do it quickly. It doesn't work. I mean, keep on dreaming. So it's slow. And so one of the difficult things then is keep the impatience of top management under control. And it is also an intensive process. So I meet with the ambassadors every 14 days for 2 hours. So it is not a cheap exercise. But when I see the enthusiasm of the people, I'm really persuaded that it can work. Because it's so different when it's cascaded down and people say that, oh, I have become persuaded that we can change. So, Rumman, maybe if next year we have a conference, which is now a mystery, I will tell you the results of the viral change. Thank you very much.